Let's just say Coach Sewell and her program have had a lot of softball here in recent days. 5 games in just a matter of 3 days. It was a crazy travel time for Coach Sewell and the Salukis, but they win all 5 in remarkable fashion, sweeping Evansville at home in both games on Tuesday, and then sweeping Indiana State with 2 games on Sunday, 1 game on Monday. Here to talk about it all before they hit the road again this weekend. The Drake is Coach Sewell. Coach Sewell, congratulations on the great week, but it takes work to get that ultimately done. For your group to do it in the time that you did do it in, what was most impressive to you?
Yeah, I think honestly, again, taking a lot of players who haven't been to Terre Haute and playing really well right from the jump. The offense was clicking. We challenged them on defense and got, 3 really good starts from the pitching staff who've never seen Terre Haute. So good weekend. And then to come back, any coaching staff would be a little concerned. Are we road weary? Are we, have we played too much softball in too short of time? But, got right back out there last night.
17-0 in those 2 games combined,
Yep,
obviously being able to run rule Evansville on both of them. And Evansville has shown improvement this year too.
Cleveland
So, I
State.
mean, to fight a program in Indiana that you said, is always going to give you your best and is in years have just been pesky regardless of the record. And then
Correct.
to come home and do it, I mean, especially do it in dominating fashion.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would overlook this part of our schedule, this may be 10 days and say, you're supposed to beat them. Believe me, we've had a time and we've talked about that in Terre Haute. And they came out we had, we're trying to control the top half of their lineup and for the most part kept them on first base and were able to handle it. And then Evansville is as athletic as they've been in a long time, doing all things well, and we're sitting ahead in the conference coming in last night. I mean, in the win column. So definitely with their new staff have really shown a ton of improvement. And I was very interested to see, um, they came out swinging hard and very aggressive, and we kind of had to get the pitching staff calmed down a little bit. Not a team that strikes out a lot anymore, and a lot of contact, and we pitched them up into the air and got everybody to kind of buy in quickly. And then, I thought offense, what I liked was just consistent inning after inning after inning, good at bats. We rarely missed, and we're getting some balls to go a long way.
I was there for your first game of the
Mhm.
doubleheader. Didn't get a chance to do the second game as it went over to baseball. But one of the things that stood out in that first game, especially, was man, when the bottom of your order produces
Yes.
and gets on base, which then flips the lineup over to the
Yeah.
type of bats that you have. Now, the top of the order can really do damage on its own, but how much is that a separating factor, Coach Sewell, is when you have, where it's Hayden Kurtz or
Yep.
Michaela? I mean, there's tons of options at the bottom of the order where if they can just get on base to allow those type of bats at the top to produce,
Yep.
it really changes how your team is viewed.
Yeah, and it's come around to Hayden a lot, who's probably the newest member of that power group in the lineup. And then you see a freshman in Jordan Stewart a lot in the 7 spot, or Michaela Coburn. Both are hitting well over 300 through the last probably 15 games. You have Aaron Lee, a veteran there in the 8 spot, who walks an absolute ton. And then we come back with Mick or Jordan a lot. And those guys have produced a lot of RBIs out of that spot as well. But if they haven't, they're on base somewhere in there. And you're right, that turns over to just a absolute murderer's row after that with Michaela, Sage Gran, Williams, and Potter are just somebody's going to barrel a ball up pretty good.
What's Jordan shown you being a freshman to step into
Yeah.
is not an easy role where
Nope.
there's a ton of expectation, yet it seems like you don't hear maybe a ton about her, but that's also, I think, shows what type of year she's having because
Yep.
sometimes when you do hear a lot, when you're at that shortstop spot that young, is because maybe there's a lot of mistakes that are
Yeah,
happening.
and JoJo's come a long way, and JoJo led us in the fall in a ton of categories, and I think, but then the sort of Division Oneness, right, the speed of the game early in the season, she really sort of had to get used to that. It's taken her probably, I would say, 45 days to get sped up, and sometimes when you get sped up, you do make mistakes. I mean, one of the funniest human beings on the planet, says about 2 words a day total. They're hilarious, whatever they are, but is is quietly just slowly ticking off some RBIs and quality of bats while refining her defense. And I texted her the other day and I said, Amanda Knutson and Aaron Lee are playing the best they've played around you, and it's time for you to step up defensively. And the response was, you got it. And I thought we saw that in Terre Haute. We saw that with Evansville, and I expect that to continue. She comes from a really quality program that prepared her very well for this level. So now, once she's getting sped up and playing very well, I'm excited to see sort of the back half of the season for her.
I tweeted out when the team was coming back from Terre Haute. I really didn't wrap my head around the type of season that Cindy Potter is having.
Yep.
And when you really have a chance, I'm sure there's more than just the home run numbers,
Yep.
but the fact that the best season all time from a home runs perspective was 17. She sits at 16
Yep.
going into the weekend. It's April 8th.
Right.
I mean, there's still a whole nother calendar to go. And obviously, the expectations in this program is to play deep into the month of May.
Yep.
What type of year is she having from that standpoint in terms of the power? And because that's just something that, again, the numbers in the program
Yeah.
just you haven't seen.
And I don't think people realize, because you can't look at it game to game the way she feels it, but the number of times she gets pitched around and then pitched to and then pitched around, that is hard to go from the mindset of like, are they working around me or am I working around myself? Am I out of the strike zone? Much like Jackie Lewis, went through at times and swatted a few balls out of the zone while they were trying to walk her. And then doing it very evenly, you can tell completely not focused on that as the goal and more of the process of how she gets there. And I think that's what's impressive. It's getting like Aaron Judge like, where um, you know, not getting pitched to with anybody on, not getting pitched to, and then all of a sudden getting pitched to. So you have to sort of get in and out of the mindset of when she's swinging, but has come so far. And I don't think people realize what a good defensive catcher she really is. That is an absolute cannon. And I've had multiple umpires that she's been with say one of the best framers they've been around. So
Wow. You talk about her defensive ability as a
yeah,
catcher. What are the traits that make her, outside of just, of course, a really good arm, but
right.
what are other areas that maybe get overlooked with
I
her?
think just the presence and the calmness that comes with that never taking the offense to defense, never taking the defense to offense. When you're working with two freshmen, has a great relationship with the bullpen and a transfer, and then Kiana, who she didn't know, and Emma Gibson, who's new to her, has totally just taken them in and puts up with their shenanigans and their
Yeah.
bullpen chatter and all that. And it's kind of like a big sis, right? And big sis and mama take care of it down there. And she could have come in here with her big numbers and been a big personality and takes up so little of the spotlight, which is wild. But typical, we joke about that. There's pitchers, personalities, and then there's catchers.
Yeah.
I was a catcher. Warren Watts was a pitcher. And
No better examples of
no
that.
better example. And Sid's she's a cool, calm cat. Like it's nothing really phases her, but she's gonna stick up for her little hens in the bullpen down there. She's big sis. So
You never want to say that you think, I mean, records are meant to be broken.
right.
So but what's really neat to me is, like you said, not even a year, you already have someone in the chase for the single season
Yep.
home run record.
Yep.
And lo and behold, Emily Williams now starting to get up in terms of the career home runs as well. Like, and I'm sure there's so many other records they can point to and lean into, but is that the sign that, hey, our program's in a great health spot in
Yep.
terms of just continuing to just not dwell on necessarily what you've had, you appreciate what you had, but still as a staff to say, hey, it's our job to keep raising the bar.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that we could go after all kinds of things, and then you've got two freshman pitchers who are
Yeah.
absolutely killing it in ERA right now. There's still a lot of things to be done, and I think the future is so bright. But what's really great is having ourselves in the mix. We went through a little adversity there in the Illinois State Belmont series, but getting just this team of all the teams, and I think back to last year, I was like, damn, that team was good, but dang, this team is really good. And I think to sort of step back and realize how much work they put in with Mia and with Lauren, and for this team to just allow us to develop alongside them and the work that we've done, that is all come a long ways. After losing to major players in the lineup card and getting it back and retooling it and being right in the mix. So,
What was most impressive, the on-field performance from Hayden or the interview performance where it looked like she held every possible bat, almost every possible
some
glove?
stinky batting gloves went on there. I was like, oh, she might want to go straight to the shower after that. Yeah, once again, full pin shenanigans have begun. You know what, Hayden, and we were just talking about Hayden as a staff. Last year, I think struggled to try to understand the mentality of our offense, which is to see a few pitches,
Yeah.
to really dig into the strike zone, to really narrow it in and really focus on what, you know, we want to hit. We do walk a lot. And I think was going early in the count last year a lot, getting some strikeouts, frustrating herself. This year, just really bought in to everything that we wanted. And it wasn't that she wasn't last year. I just think she was trying to figure it out. She was trying to figure out what that meant, what our
Yeah.
offense meant. And you can see the work that she's put in. She's also put in a lot of work at first base to become a really good first baseman and become a more physical presence for us. Obviously, when she steps off in a uniform, you get it, like 6 foot tall, very athletic, strong human. And I think this year is really just enjoying the process versus worrying about what is my outcome. I need to, I've got to be a part of this offense.
So much of the really good teams, and you talk about being player led.
Yeah.
When you look at your group this year in terms of maintaining whatever, the edge,
Mm-hmm.
uh, hey, results are now going your way. What are the biggest things you tell your group, or really who's doing a good job of within the team of just saying,
Yeah.
hey, there's still more to do here.
Yeah.
Like it's more of that day by day approach as you had to Drake this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt it's Aaron Lee, a quiet human, but a captain for sure. Always just saying, hey, the little reminders of like, hey, remember, we've got to take care of the little things, the details for sure. And I think we've just had a lot of discussions about the standard, not worrying about what your did you get a hit, did you not get a hit? Just play the standard. Like it's so easy to get caught up in the what am I streaking, slumping, all that. But like, are you playing to the level that the people on the wall played at when they were championship level? If we just keep that in mind. But definitely Aaron, and I know Haley Wilkerson has helped a ton with the younger ones. But I think the best part is if you look through that dugout, everybody has played their part in that. Because this time of year, some are playing more than others, and some have different roles now that they have, than they had in February. But you look over there, and that team is enjoying each other's success, and I do appreciate that as a head coach and as our staff. Like we've been road heavy, but it's been an absolute blast. So
To have that maturity level, which is what's needed to have success throughout a season, is whether you're going into a rivalry series where you're going up a series in terms of battle for the first place
yeah,
in Belmont. Now you go on the road against a team in Drake that's 2-12 in the league, but even when you have a record like 2-12,
right.
there are clearly things that they do well.
Yeah.
What is a clear and obvious thing where you're like, this is a strength, this is where they're going to test this
Yeah,
weekend?
they can defend that field like crazy. Fielding in the upper 970s, I think. Um, Tend to not give up a lot of extra base hits. I think they've given up homers and singles, but it's hard to get out of that park at times, especially with the wind, if it's blowing in that day in Des Moines. And they've really taken some young pitching and developed it with their new, I think their head coach now in her second or third season. So really starting to see her plan come to play. But I think what I've been impressed most about us is that we have ignored people's records and played. I think there's times when we've in past seasons have gone up and down with the energy according to what we think a team, and teams have bitten us at times. Just like Indiana State and Evansville was a good example last night. I thought we focused on us and we didn't worry a lot about them. And we need to continue to do that on the road.
What is ultimately the biggest sign to you of when you know you're in the right spot when it comes to that? And then also, if you're not, what you try to do as the leader to make sure it shifts back that way?
Yeah, I think it's been really energy. It's been the dynamic, it's been the energy. Um, despite maybe we're a little physically tired, we're not mentally tired, right?
Yeah.
We're willing to go 100% of whatever the percent we're currently at. And if you're at 90%, just give me all of that, And I thought last night was a really, really good, um, just showing for us to come out and really punch hard right away and consistently, and not just with a bat, but defensively as well. I thought we've taken the defensive challenge and continued it. And they really let us kind of bark up on them, even when we're up in games, like, hey, the expectation is up 6-0, finish the game.
Yeah.
It's not like, let's hang out for another 3 or 9, 3, 6 or 9 outs and give this team the whole game. I thought we did a great job for 3 games here of ending it. So,
Coach, appreciate the time. Safe travels out to Des Moines, and we'll catch up with you next week.
sounds good. Thanks,
Once
Luke.
again, that was head coach Jen Sewell. As the Salukis again right now, as the schedule sits, as we record this here on Wednesday, be doubleheader Friday, 1 game on Saturday. Those games will be on the Valley on ESPN. For the head coach Jen Sewell, I am Luke Martin. Until next week, Saluki Nation, go Dogs.